All right, let's get this thing tore apart. I'm going to pull the secondary off of this thing too, just to give it a good cleaning. It's been, had this clutch kit in there for early last fall. So we'll pull it apart, get it cleaned up, and I'll show you what's in there. I'll give Polaris some credit on this one. Their clutch system is pretty darn easy to get apart. This new system they've got on the Pros. So just make sure on here, there's several spacers or little washers in there. You don't want to lose those. That's what aligns the clutch. If you're gonna reuse the belt, which I'm gonna because this belt's pretty new, make sure that you pay attention to what way it's on there and you get it put back on the same way. So this has got the Aftermarket Assassins secondary upgrade with the spring and the helix. Looks like there might have been some moisture in there, so we'll make sure we get that all cleaned up before we put it back together. The primary on these things is easy to come apart too. You've got a, let's see, that's a 60 Torx for that center bolt. All you gotta do is pull that out. There's no washers or anything on that, so it's just the bolt. This has got the Aftermarket Assassins weights in it, spring, and the cover here, and I'll show you when I take that off. It helps support these tabs that everything slides on. So this, once you get that bolt off of there, it's splined on. You don't have to pull the whole clutch. So it's just a matter of getting this outer clutch part off. And a lot of times if you just use the spring that's in it to of course it's not going to come off easy for us. It's been apart before, so you would think it would come apart easier than that. Let me get a rubber mallet and tap on it a little bit. Well, I'm going to pull this outer cover off and get the spring tension off of it and see if that does anything for us. So I'll show you on that how this has got extra probably hard to see on the video, but it's got extra notches in here where these don't. So it allows the tabs, they can move. And they're saying that was part of the problem with these clutches exploding early on. So I did do that upgrade last year. Again, there's washers and spacers in there. That's a washer from Aftermarket Assassins to help with the clutching. tapping comes right off. So then with that, lay a towel down on here, make sure we don't scratch anything. So again, Polaris makes these really easy to work on. That'll just slide out of there. One of the big things you got to watch is there's these little buttons, these little slides that have a tendency to fall out. So be careful, especially if you're out somewhere that you might lose those. You don't want to lose those because that could make for a very bad day. See there, one just fell out. They just sit in there. Can make it kind of a pain to put back together. I've never seen anybody put anything on them to keep them in there, so I just deal with it. So the weights on these things are easy. They're just magnetic. All right, it's an 1/8 inch Allen. Pin out. Well, you can see there, I'm going to have to do some research because that weight's got nothing in the bottom. And I thought we were supposed to have a 444. But, so, I'm going to do some research and I'll be back shortly as soon as I make sure what is supposed to go in there. Alright, here we go. Got it figured out. Because I have a different helix in there, the helix that I have in there from Aftermarket Assassins is a 1043. So when I was running stock, with the stock tires, we were running a 014 weight. So now I'm going to a level 3 tune with 32 inch tires. So we're going to run a 024. So we're going to add one weight to the second position. And it's going to be the same for paddle tires. So again, we're going to add one weight because we're going from stock tune to stock and stock tires to a level 3 tune with 32 inch tires. So again, these weights are magnetic, so they make them real easy to change. We'll push the number 2 out just so we can see what is in there. I need to get a smaller. So to get the weights out, it's real easy. You just take a small, I got an Allen wrench, and just push them out. Oh, that one's flipped sideways in there, of course. So a lot of times if you take your extra weights and stick them up there, you can use that to help get the weight out or the magnet out of there. See, there we go. So, as you can see, there's nothing, now nothing. There was one in there, and there's 4 in there. So, and we said we're going to a 0, we went from a 014, and we're going to a 024. So, we need to add a second weight. So let's get that one back off of there. And we'll stick it back on the rest of the weights, and I'll show you the easiest way to get the weights in there. So if you take the whole row of weights, put it down in the hole till you get to number 2, and then just slide it off. Just like that. And then take and make sure the weights seats all the way in there. So, 1 down, 2 to go. Uh-oh. How the heck did that happen? That nut must have been over torqued and it broke off. So I'm going to have to see if I got any extra pins. Not, I'm going to have to order them. Alright, let's work on getting this clutch put back together with adjusted weights. As you can remember, I broke a bolt for the clutch weight, so of course Only place you can get them is from Polaris. Nobody had them in stock, so I had to order them. Took a couple days for that. So if you remember, the new weights, because of the tune I'm running, the helix I'm running, and the size tires, it is getting a 0, 2, 4. It's always 1, 2, 3. Same on the list, it's 1, 2, 3. So that weight's already got them in there, so let's get that one put back in, and I'll show you on the next one, popping them out and popping the new ones in. Alright, again with these nuts, because they've got a jam on the end of them, they just need to be snug. So I don't know if I over tightened that one, or I possibly might have been going the wrong way with the impact and snapped it. I'm not sure. So we're going to use something with not quite so much force. And that's it. Tight. Pull the next one out. Like that. That's out, and again, so again, the easiest way to get the weights in there is just to take the row, stick that one back on there, count down 2, stick it in the hole, and just slide the rest of them off, and it's in. Take something and just make sure that it's all the way in, and that's it. 0, 2, 4. And that's it. That's how easy the weights are to change with the Aftermarket Assassins kit. So now on this and this, they've got an X, so you got to make sure that you line the X back up, and it's under one of the weights. So all you got to do is flip the weight up. You can see there's an X right there. And then there's an X right there. So you just got to make sure that those X's are lined up when you put this all back together. And again, fight with these buttons to make sure they stay in there. Off the button over there. Be a little easier probably if you had one more set of hands. There we go. All right, that's in. Put these weights away so we don't lose them. You got the centerpiece. This is a better shift washer from Aftermarket Assassins, and then you got the factory washer in there. So that goes back. Then you got the spring and the cover plate. This is again the Aftermarket Assassins plate that's got the extra cutouts in it to help support the towers. That was one of the issues Polaris was having. I always like to put a wrench on them just to make sure they're all snug fairly evenly. There is a torque spec on them. I think it's 22 inch-pounds, but hand tight with a small ratchet, you'll be good. There's tension on these, so they're not going to back out on you. I typically torque everything else, but I don't have an inch-pound torque wrench, so click. Click. So that's all together. I did, while we were waiting for parts, I did clean all this up, blow it all out, so everything's clean and should be able to go back together. So then the primary just slides back on. I know a lot of people just use their impacts and buzz that back in, but let's set it 140 and get that torqued on. And you can see the hammer handle will push against the frame and will allow that not to spin. $140 always seems more like, there it goes. Pull the hammer handle out. I've had them break before, so make sure you use a good, whatever you put in there, just don't use metal. I've used a fiberglass hammer, wooden hammer. That all seems to work. So we'll slide the secondary back on. Again, this is all Aftermarket Assassins. This was put on last year. I didn't take it apart, but did clean it all out real good. This was actually a new secondary clutch at the end of last season too. Polaris warranted it. This bushing came apart and locked up the secondary when we were out. Actually, we were 30 miles out on a 150-mile run. We do an annual couples ride, so we were headed off to the casino, and luckily, good friends helped out in the end. We waited, somebody came up and picked up the machine and hauled it back to camp, and I was able to ride with some friends. Me, the wife, and I were able to ride with some friends, and we had a good time anyways, even though we didn't get to take the machine. So secondary goes on, and the belt. Again, remember which way you took it off. I always, out of habit, and so I always know if it's a belt I put on, the labeling is facing so you can read it. Just a habit. You can put them on either way initially, but you need to make sure you put it back on the way it came off. So I always put it on so that you can read the numbers. Whether it's a new belt or used belt or whatever it may be. And then the outer, again, I don't ever take this bolt out of there because there's a bunch of little alignment washers in there that you don't want to lose. So when I pull it out, I keep that bolt in there, put it down, make sure the bolt stays. Torque spec on that is 40. Because I don't have any wheels on it right now, I'm not going to be able to torque it to spec. So we're going to leave all this off. And when I get wheels back on it, we'll get it torqued down. But that's 40. Everything's back together. Again, Aftermarket Assassins makes a very easy kit to adjust the weights. They do say that you can leave the clutch on the machine, pull the front cover off, pull that spider off, and flip the weights up. You can, it's not the easiest to get in and out of there. I find it easiest just to pull the bolt, which you could do on the machine. You could just pull the spider cover off, pull the spider off, pull the bolts right on the machine, not even have to pull the whole clutch apart, because sometimes that outer sheave that's supposed to slide off fairly easily, it doesn't always slide off very easily. So, but with that being said, that's the kit on, installed. Pretty easy. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe below because we've got a lot of more videos coming. We got a lot more to do with this machine before it gets all put back together. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.